Hello, Pros and Babes community. I'm so happy to reconnect here with you. I took a step back during the summer. Now I took a bit of a pause on the live show and my team was sharing some replays with you. So I'm so glad to be back and chatting about the topic of overwhelm. It's one of my favorite topics. It's one where I've had the biggest shifts in my mindset and thus completely changing my outcomes in my career and my family life and my relationship. So this is a really big one. I'm going to aim to keep it simple. Overwhelm is a big topic, but we want to keep it simple, obviously, to tackle it. So as means of an introduction, I'm Kinia Romanowska. I'm a mom of 2 boys, 2 and 4, and I'm a former award-winning investigative journalist turned mat leave strategist, right? Motherhood strategist, working mom strategist, maternity leave planner. I'm the CEO here at Pros and Babes. We're experiencing some fantastic growth and next steps on how we're going to impact moms and companies this year. So I'm here to have conversations about what does this mean? Well, the starting point for this conversation is that when you become a mom, your identity changes. I'm going to repeat this 3 times. Your identity changes, your values generally change. People start prioritizing different things, but they don't necessarily take time to redefine what that means, right? And that affects whether you feel good at work, whether you feel valued in your marriage, whether you're doing too much at home or at work, whether you feel overwhelmed, right? So I'm here to have those conversations with you because I believe that every single person in this community, you're so educated and smart and you have fantastic jobs. And I really want to see more moms playing bigger, bringing solutions to this world. I know you just need that extra push and confidence and believe in yourself, and you can accomplish fantastic things. And so you absolutely must change your relationship with overwhelm. So I'll dive right into it. And I hope you have a pen and paper if you can jot down a couple of thoughts and modify your relationship with overwhelm and put it on your fridge or in a visible place, because once you start thinking differently about this aspect of your life, it's going to affect so much, right? From your marriage to your work. So let's dive right in. I wonder if a few people are going to stop watching once I say this. I don't know if you've ever had this mindset shift before, but the big one for me was to actually discover that overwhelm is a symptom of abundance. So I'll say this again. Overwhelm is actually a symptom of abundance and ultimately a lack of priorities. So I wonder, for anybody who is watching, if you can type that in the comments, agree, disagree, that overwhelm is actually a problem of abundance. Like, think about this for a second, right? When you're overwhelmed is because you feel like you have so much to do. You have so many different options. And so you're directing your time and energy and you're spacing it out on so many things. So you're feeling overwhelmed because you're doing so much. Let me know how overwhelm shows up for you and write that down on your paper. Number 1, I would write A. Overwhelm is a sign of abundance. And just let that sit with you and simmer with that thought, or chew it like a candy, or suck on it like a candy, right? What does that bring up for you? And how does that change your perspective on what you have in your life, right? So overwhelm is actually a problem of abundance. You have a lot to do, and then maybe you have not organized your priorities. So great, if you're sticking with me, perhaps you're actually entertaining that thought. So if overwhelm is a problem of abundance, and somebody says, yes, agree, abundance isn't always a good thing. The pursuit of more. Interesting. Thank you for that, right? So then if we're doing too much, logically it follows, and we're feeling overwhelmed in our body, our heart, our mind, right, is sending us a sign that this is too much. We're getting those physical symptoms. And you can let me know how you feel overwhelmed in your life. Write it down on your piece of paper as well, right? So overwhelm feels like tightness in my chest. Overwhelm feels like a headache. It feels like ants in my pants. It feels like irritation and annoyance. It makes me more testy. And then after, leave a blank space next to that, because we want to write the opposite of what it feels like, right? So what does overwhelm make you feel like? Now, it would logically follow that overwhelm, doing too much, it means we're not prioritizing. We're not focusing on what really matters. And I'll try to jump to a nuance around, obviously, when you're a new mom. Like, I do not want to diminish the difficult feelings around being a new mom. It's such a huge learning curve. The sleep deprivation might be difficult, right? So depending on where you are in your stage of motherhood, this statement may or may not resonate. It might trigger you. There's an opportunity for learning there too, right? So if there's competing priorities that you have not organized, and notably, your well-being is not part of the priorities, right? You're not pouring back into yourself. You're always doing for others, which is so typical in high-performing women, right? The more I talk with extremely smart women, I say smarter than me, or maybe a different type of intelligence than me, right? But women with, let's say, education and engineering or the sciences or other demanding corporate fields, you're used to getting validation for what you're doing. From a young age, you probably receive lots of awards and rewards and positive reinforcements. So you're used to feeling loved because you have such a beautiful, big, smart brain that provides value in that sense, right? So no wonder you're reinforcing those patterns of doing and possibly feeling loved through that. But now, as an adult and as a mother, it's time to examine whether that is actually helping you be the best you in this season of life. I don't know about you, but since I had kids, a couple of gray hairs popped up and the wrinkles seem to appear out of nowhere, and the aging process starts faster. And I'm realizing how important that process of rest is. And so one thing about overwhelm and abundance and not prioritizing, before I get sidetracked, the number one action you can take. So I actually ask you to write down, overwhelm is a problem of abundance. I ask you to write down how it feels, and then leaving a blank space for writing the opposite, right? We talked about priorities. You're obviously going to want to know what to do about it, on how to take action. So the first thing I would like you to write down is, what is the opposite of overwhelm for you? What are the words that come up, right, to show that you're experiencing the opposite of overwhelm? So is it love? Is it peace of mind? Is it rest? Is it feeling relaxed? Is it feeling energized or focused? So write that down. Write that down, because one of the mistakes we also make as we swim in the sea of anxiety and overwhelm is we tend to live either in the past or the future. So repeating automated patterns from the past of how we responded to situations, or worrying what could go wrong in the future. That's no way to live, right? So if you are identifying how you want to feel, and you start having a vision and kind of tying yourself emotionally to what that would look like, and having even like, where are you as you feel joyful and peaceful and focused and relaxed? Imagine yourself like, are you lounging by a pool, or are you in your office writing something, working on a deliverable and feeling super focused? So you constantly have to be in that space of vision and energy of what the opposite of overwhelm is. And then you reverse engineer and you start saying no to what doesn't fit in your vision. One of the best words in your vocabulary as a parent will be the word no, right? You're going to have to learn to say no. So going back to, again, overwhelm is a problem of abundance, right? People who do not have abundance in their lives don't have time to be overwhelmed. They are thinking about survival. Overwhelm is often a symptom that you are open to self-actualization, which is a huge privilege for many of us, right? So what can you do to feel less overwhelmed? Well, one of the things obviously will be to do less, but at the same time doing more through that, looking at time differently. So when I'm talking about priorities, when I talk with the moms in the community, we organize the different buckets of your life. And I've been doing that from a very young age, actually. Maybe some of you have done exercises like the Wheel of Life, right? So we look at the spiritual realms, professional, personal, health, relationships, money, things like that. And so you mark your level of satisfaction. So first you have to organize those buckets and actually envision what you want and how you want to feel in every single one of them. Instead of worrying about the past and reproducing patterns, right, and worrying what could go wrong, first actually identify and connect with what it is that you want. Connect with your soul, connect with your desires. If you're like me and many of the moms in this community, you're used to taking everybody else's needs and not your own. And so you may feel disconnected from your desires. So if you're feeling strange about this exercise, or you have not thought about what you actually want, this is the number one step. What do you want in the different domains of your life? How do you want to feel? Put it on your fridge and focus on that repeatedly, continuously, just to reconnect with your own desires. And then start really thinking about what you need to prioritize in this season of life. All kind of productivity and mindset tools will tell you not to set more than 3 goals at a time per quarter, or even focus on 3 goals in a year. So let's say, depending on the season of life you're in, which areas of life right now do you need to focus on so everything else becomes easier to do? So let's say you're a new mom. There was one book that I read, a summary, and they said that there are only 2 things that matter when a new baby is born: baby and mom, and then nothing else matters, right? So taking care of you and taking care of baby, and everything else is secondary. And so I will take a bet that every single person listening to the video today could benefit from some time for themselves. And the number one way to do this is to actually put it in your calendar. I don't care if you put it 3 months down the road. I would prefer for you to have it as a recurring event, but you need to take time for yourself to do nothing. And so many productive, goal-oriented, high-achieving women resist this. But then, surprise, surprise, you take the time off and you become so much more productive after that, so much more creative and effective, right? So there's a good chance that if you're overwhelmed, you're putting your needs last. Who's surprised by that statement? Probably no one, right? Probably no one. You're putting everybody first. You're putting yourself last. Now maybe I will use some strong words. Maybe that's not okay. I will kind of put a guilt trip to change the perspective. What are you teaching your children about loving themselves if you don't take time to take care of you? Because they're watching you more than they're talking about you, right? So again, different seasons of life, sometimes it's normal where literally the baby is attached to you all the time. But even if you're in that season, I want you to plant that seed. When I do career planning and strategic planning with moms going back to work, I say your number one job is to put a quarterly date with yourself every 3 months, and even more often, maybe once a month. And dad or partner or somebody will take care of your children. Right? It's the number one thing that gets overlooked between like laundry and cleaning and cooking and the medical appointment. So you have to be on the agenda first. That goes back to putting you back on the priorities list. It's going to impact your marriage and your intimacy and your sense of connection with what you have to do in the world. Now, in the ticker, I'm talking about what I'm saying will help you get more done. But it's not just in terms of getting more done on your checklist. If you're getting so much energy from just getting done, of course it feels good. But what if you played the longer game? This is my selfish desire and intention for this community. It's not that selfish, but it's a little bit selfish, is that when I go back constantly thinking about why I do this work, right? So I'll give you some of my background. I was born in Poland. My parents immigrated to Canada from Sweden. Through Sweden, I grew up in Montreal, and I've been in Edmonton for about 7 years. And so I worked as an investigative journalist, and I worked in corporate communications. I always volunteered a lot for conferences and women and leadership movements. And so I had this longing in my heart to be an entrepreneur. I always had an entrepreneurial spirit. And when I founded Pros and Babes, when I had my first child, I wanted to fill a gap in leadership conversations for moms. I wanted to have a moms group that allowed us to talk about our careers. And so 4 years later, we just came back from an investor pitch, and I have the hope and won the Investor's Choice Award. And we are hoping to really grow this company across Canada and internationally. And the thing really that I keep on going back to is, I imagine you listening to me today having that level of confidence that comes from you believing in yourself, but also other powerful women. Like, yes, powerful women who have achieved a lot come together, and we cry and we share our anxiety and our tears, right? So having that support and that validation and connecting with your deep purpose on this earth, I imagine you watching me today, you're going to drive the solutions for, the forest fires that we have. Your children will invent those solutions. You will find the next cure for cancer. I know it, if you start believing in everything you have inside of you and stop listening to that inner critic that you should send on a long camping trip. So that's my belief for moms. I think you are such amazing human beings. And I think that I see that many of you spend way too much time listening to that inner critic, being afraid, being anxious, instead of tapping into the vision of the people who need you to solve problems on this earth, right? So I know there are a lot of powerful women who just need like that scratch, and we're that force for you. Now, how does that tie with overwhelm, right? If you decide that you're going to play the long game, if you decide that your impact is going to be turning Edmonton into the city that's going to lead with solar panels, right? And you know that's a long game. It's not going to take you 1 year to do this, but you decide to focus all your career energy on that, right? And you need a community to remind you that you are the leader for that, and to know that you're a leader. First of all, if you're listening to this show, you're a leader. You want to lead yourself with your thoughts, right? So imagine if you channeled your energy on a couple of core areas of your life. Number one, everything you're going to do is going to help build a world that is safer and cleaner and more environmentally friendly for your kids. Number two, you're going to be the most loving mom this world has seen. Number three, you're going to be a smiling, adventurous, fun wife, right? And number four, you're going to build wealth that will allow you to have impact and support causes that really matter to you. What if you really organized all your energy and activities around a couple of core priorities over a period of 25 years or 30 years? And you realize you did not have to get it all done in the next 3 months. How would your energy change? How would your joy change? That's playing bigger, but that's playing the longer game. It's not about just checking things off your to-do list and feeling good about that. It's actually acknowledging that since you're listening to this video today, it's no coincidence. I'm stirring something inside of you. I know you are called to play bigger. If you are overwhelmed in Canada, or even in a very, rich country around the world, is I know you're meant to have an impact on many, many lives. So that's my manifesto. That's the work we're doing both with individuals in the MomBA program, and now we're starting to work with companies who are progressive and who want to be progressive and want to meet their ESG targets and want to invest in their mom and female talents. So we're starting to really do more workshops and work with them to enroll women in the MomBA program. So let's summarize. I talked about overwhelm being a problem of abundance. I wanted you to identify on your paper how you feel when you're overwhelmed, and then write down what would be the opposite of feeling overwhelmed, right? And then I want you to put on your calendar when you're going to rest and declare you're going to do it and take that time for yourself, because I know you're giving, but are you taking time to receive? And the old adage, you can't pour from an empty cup. The number one way to change things in your life is to change your calendar, right? So start changing it with periods of doing nothing, which will allow you to reflect more on the bigger role you have to play on this planet, how you have to focus your energy on what you do best and what is most important in the season of your life. Now, I'm giving this a very high level overview, right? Whenever I do deeper strategy and planning, we look at all the pillars from mindset to relationships to financial planning. We really work with women on their finances and both their wealth mindset and kind of how they approach their investments and their tax planning and all of that, right? So you can achieve all your dreams and build a legacy for the next generation. We define what career life integration looks like for you. We define what being healthy is for you. We define what being a leader, an emotional intelligent leader, looks like for you. So I'm just giving you examples of where you need to define what you want to be, what you would like to achieve, right? What kind of impact you want to make. So those are the steps: how you want to feel, what you want to be. And then change your calendar, right? So make that mindset shift, that overwhelm. What if you entertained the thought this week that overwhelm is actually a sign of abundance? I love that one of my teachers and mentors shared that with me this year, and it was like, whoa, it's a different paradigm. So let's say that my son, who's a little bit too old to nurse in the middle of the night for a couple of weeks on vacation, the routine was disrupted. Instead of getting angry and tired, I would hug him and say, thank you for the gift of loving you, right? So that is kind of making a shift in mindset as to the abundance of love in my life. Now, to close off, I'll share a little anecdote. I can't wait to talk to you all again. I'm so grateful for every single one of you who decide to really play bigger. Send your inner critic on a camping trip with a one-way ticket. Those of you who decide you're going to stop waiting for your Oscar, but decide you're going to play all out with what you believe in. Those of you who unhook from praise and criticism, I'm so grateful for you every single day. You're doing such important work in our communities. And as a closing message, we are potty training our youngest today. It was very, very cute. We said yesterday, hey, we're going to be potty training tomorrow. And he's not even 2, and he said, we aren't. Like, how cute is that? But we're doing pretty well today. It's very exciting to see a tiny one pantless with a ladybug helmet. So we're having a lot of fun with that today. Again, lots of gratitude for all of you. Remember, here in this community, we work with career-minded moms, high-achieving moms during pregnancy, during mat leave, and after maternity leave. And we really help you start from the foundation of your identity to get you that next promotion, that next raise, that next leadership position. We help you share the mental load better with your partner and heal your marriages. Right now, in the Relationships Month in our community, and there's so much good conversation around intimacy and how to build a closer bond and dialogue, and how to share the load. So thank you, every single one of you in this community. Sending you tons of love. Let me know your thoughts about abundance. One of my goals for this year is to have as many conversations as possible. So if you're inspired by this, you want to tell me what's on your mind with regard to overwhelm, whether you need a sounding board for your next career move or your sense of purpose as a career-minded mom, just get into my DMs and let me know, and let's book a chat. If you also know friends who could use some encouragement in a positive community, there are a lot of Facebook groups out there that I try to join, but there's tons of drama and negative energy and complaining. This is a space where we want to constructively help you grow, and we never deny there's anxiety and tears and problems, right? But we're here to encourage you constructively to find more joy in all of that. So invite friends into this community. Join us next week. Join one of our coming workshops. Feel free to share this video in your circles, and I can't wait to connect with you again. See you next time.